All right, guys, thanks for being here. Zach Twardowski here with Jake Wambaugh. We're actually going to do opposite today, and Jake's going to interview me. Even though I usually prefer to interview people, Jake wanted to interview me instead. So Jake's in Austin for lock-in right now. I'm going to go through a set of questions he has and hopefully provide some value for everyone today.
So I figured you're always going with everybody, but you probably have the most wealth of knowledge to share with. Definitely, I want to hear some stuff, some business, some otherwise. The first one, who's your idol?
That's a good question. Dude, it's hard. I wouldn't say I necessarily have an idol. I have a lot of people I look up to in different ways, but I don't think I really necessarily idolize anyone. One thing I've always believed is I don't think that you should idolize any human being necessarily. But I look up to people and I respect them, and there's certain characteristics I want to have that people have. One thing I've learned is no one's perfect, and I think a lot of times people idolize people. They see them do well in business or athletics or whatever, and they think I want to be just like that person in all aspects of my life. And what I learned is no one's perfect, and everyone has to kind of walk their own journey. But there's certain things that I want to be like other people in certain ways. So one thing I've started doing a lot recently is listening to a lot of biographies and podcasts and interviews of people who founded companies. And there's a lot of things I take from certain people that I really like, but there's also things I'm like, oh, I don't like that about this person, right? A good example is Jeff Bezos, right? It's a really good example. He is super smart in business in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Actually, no, a better example than that is Steve Jobs. Super good business person in a lot of ways, but a lot of people didn't like him because he was just a huge asshole and he was really bad at communicating. Yeah. But he was a genius business person, right? So I wouldn't say I idolize him in any way, and I wouldn't want to be like him in my relationship with my employees or the people I work with, but the way that he ran businesses and the success he had in business is something really cool that I would want to emulate. What I learned about him was he founded Apple, and then he got ousted from Apple because he was such a jerk to people, even though he had all the right business ideas. And then someone founded Pixar. He started working at Pixar. He made Toy Story. He blew Pixar up, right? They sold Pixar for $7 billion. At one point, he was the largest shareholder of Disney stock in the world. Wow. Which is crazy, right? Yeah, and then he started another company that was the operating system for, it's called Next. It was the operating system for Apple. And he sold that to Apple for a few $1 billion. And then Apple brought him back as a CEO, right? So that's a really cool business trajectory. Crazy. It is crazy, right? I didn't know it either.
I didn't know any of that.
It's a cool business trajectory, but most people didn't like him, and I don't think he treated people the right way in a lot of instances. So I look at that and I'm like, okay, what things did he do in business that I can try to emulate? And then what things do I not like about his personal life, right? Because I want to have a well-balanced personal life, great relationship with my wife, with my daughter, and any future kids. So I think I've come to the realization that most people are not perfect, but there's things that I can take from a bunch of different people that I want to be like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. For you, so I guess you're listening to different business people. If you weren't doing insurance, and I know, and most people probably know, your story about what you're going to go to school for and stuff. Mm-hmm. What would you be doing if not insurance, do you think?
I think if I wasn't in insurance, I probably either would have gone to medical school or done some other kind of something else entrepreneurial. It's always one thing that's always been important to me is doing something that I enjoy doing, that is competitive and that I could make good money at, right? Yeah. It was funny when I was deciding which route I wanted to go. I was deciding between okay, I'm either gonna go to medical school, and I was literally looking at jobs that I could that would pay you the most for the least amount of time in residency. Yeah. And then I found I was there's I could have gone to dental school was what I found out, and you could go to dental school 3 years. And then a 3-year residency to become an oral surgeon, and those guys make $700,000 a year. So I was my thought process was what one can I get through the quickest and make the most amount of money? Yeah. So I probably would have either gone that route, or I would have done something else to build businesses, but it would have been around something that helps people out. Okay. Because that's how I was raised by both my dad and mom, and my grandpa was whatever you're doing in life, as long as you're helping people, like money will come, and money's important, but it's not as important as leaving people better than you found them. So that's always been important to me, is like, I don't think I'm perfect in any sort of way, but I think as long as you're providing some sort of value to people and putting people in a better position in some way, whether that's insurance, sales, building businesses that are impactful for people. Like, I don't think I could sell like Tupperware. You know? I don't think I could do, you know, some jobs. I don't necessarily think I could do like software sales or something, right? Unless I like truly thought it was going to help people and make money, I don't think I'd be able to do it. And I also wouldn't be able to do philanthropy work that made no money, because like I want to be able to live a certain type of way, like, and that be not necessarily meaning like, you know, live like a lavish life, but like live and not have to worry about money. It's kind of my goal, right? So I wouldn't ever want to do something where, like, I would never be a teacher either. I think teachers help a lot of people, but I would never do that.
So because when you first got into the business, what, 7 years ago? Over 7?
7, end of 2017.
So the landscape was probably a lot different in the industry. And so you were like, I want to do something entrepreneurial. Did you have, because for me, coming into the business much more recently, I could see, so it's cool to sell insurance, protect families, help people, you know, do what we're doing with like some of the retirement products and stuff. But what I saw is to be able to actually help people would be like give people an opportunity. Like you gave me an opportunity, and it's like, it's cool that our clients we can help, but think about all the lives that you've helped change and that I hope to help change by giving people an opportunity for them and their family, which Sean talks about all the time. Did you, like when you first started, there wasn't as much on social media, right? So maybe you couldn't see the impact of, or the bigger idea of recruiting and building a team. Is that what you saw? Like, oh, I can make money and help impact the clients that I'm serving. Did you see the big vision of building a team like from day one, or how did that look for you?
So day one, my plan was, I was like, I'm going to sell insurance for 2 years or do some sales for 2 years. Initially I was going to do medical sales. So didn't care about like helping people at all necessarily day one. Cause my goal was to, for 2 years, stack some money, go back to school.
Okay.
So then what I saw with the business that stood out to me was, I was like, okay, there's no cap on the commission and you can sell and make a living without building a business. So like, funny enough, like what stood out to me was I didn't have to recruit people to make good money. Cause I was looking at a bunch of businesses, and it was either like you could get a base salary, like a crappy base salary and some commission, or you could be a no commission, or you could be a 100% commission sales job. But a lot of the 100% sales commission jobs force you to recruit people to make any kind of money. So then I was kind of like, okay, I like the idea of no cap on my commission. I don't need a base salary. Because even when I wasn't good at this, I had enough self-belief where I'm like, I don't need a base salary. Like I can sell stuff. I'll figure it out. But I found what attracted me to this was like, I can buy leads, I can sell, I don't have to call friends and family, and I can make a really good living just selling insurance. So that was like my vision day one. And I think a couple things, dude, like when I was, like you played Division I football, like I played sports growing up, high school, college, and I was the captain of a lot of teams, but I was never like a vocal leader. Like I feel like there's usually a couple different leaders, right? There's usually the vocal leader. There's usually like someone who's like kind of the disciplinarian type leader. And then there's usually like the lead by example person. Would you agree with that?
For sure.
There's usually those three like are the captains of the team. And like, I was almost always just like the lead by example person that didn't say much. And I was always raised like by my dad and my grandpa to like in football, what Sean Mike taught me was like, you score a touchdown, you spike the ball and like celebrate. But like I grew up being taught like you hand the ball to the referee and walk back to the sideline. Like I've been there before. So like I was always just the lead by example person. So when I started in insurance, like I didn't ever want to build a team initially. I was like, I just want to make really good money selling insurance, save some, go back to school. Then it changed to where I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go back to school because I remember calling my dad. I'm like, how long did it take you to crack like a multiple 6-figure income? And he was like, oh, it was like 7 years after graduating from my undergrad. And I was like, okay, I'm making that year one. So I'm not going to go back to school. So my initial thought was like, okay, I'm going to sell enough insurance to be able to invest in like real estate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So still wanted to sell, make money, and then not build a business. And then I had a few people reach out and ask like what I was doing. And I remember one of them was like, are you guys hiring? And I literally called my upline and was like, hey, one of my buddies wants to sell. Can you hire him? And she was like, why don't you hire him? I'm like, I don't really want to. And she's like, well, you should just have them be on your team.
Yeah.
And so he started, and I started just like coaching him, teaching him how to sell. And then I realized I liked that.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't feel like I was like a natural born leader. I was much more introverted by nature. I didn't really want to talk to people. I didn't want to be on the phone all the time. But I figured out like I love teaching people how to sell. So like once I learned, and then I taught a couple other people how to sell, I was like, okay, like now I want to build a business because I enjoy it and I see what the financial impact can be for me and for the potential people I bring on. That makes sense?
Yeah. No, it does. So,
But yeah, like real quick, dude, I think like a lot of people see that long-term vision now. But what I tell people kind of jokingly, half jokingly, is like, I don't think anyone like gets into this business when things are like going super good,
Yeah.
wherever they're at.
yeah.
And I think it's okay to admit that, you
Yeah,
know, it's like,
for sure.
if you were killing it, making like $1 million a year doing something else, you're probably not starting a career in insurance. Right.
Yeah.
But like, if you're capped at, you know, a low 6-figure income or a mid 6-figure income, or you're working 100 hours a week, like people get in this business to make a change. And it does, if you're someone who got in the business to make a change and you hear everyone else talking about like how they see the vision of the business, like that wasn't me in the beginning either. Like I just needed to make some money for a couple of years. And then I fell in love with like the insurance business, but the business of helping develop people and help people make money too.
Yeah. 100%. So with making money and you were doing it early, and obviously you built a huge business, and you mentioned your family.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you, this is more of just like family and parent, how are you or plan to, because Scarlett's still, what is she, 1.5 years?
Yeah. Should be two in October.
How do you plan on like still implementing like work ethic, grit, determination, like working hard while being able to like provide a life for your family that, you know, wouldn't necessarily like foster all those if they really didn't have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do you find that balance? Cause it's like, we always want to give like our family and people that, you know, we're in charge of taking care of and supporting, like what we couldn't have or better than we grew up. But we also both know like there's a ton of value in those experiences and that stuff that you do have to overcome. How do you find that balance?
Yeah, man. So I think like I grew up, like my dad made really good money growing up. Like he probably made on good years, 500,000-600,000, and bad years, maybe like 200,000-300,000 as a doctor owning his own practice. So I grew up around money, but the things I really value that I grew up around was like, I grew up around, so my dad, but also my grandpa was in my life a lot. We were super close. And he was like steel mill worker, military guy that went back to college later in life. Mm-hmm. And my dad went to college. He played college football, and then he went to medical school. But like, they didn't have any money going through medical school. Like, my mom was a nurse and paid for medical school while they're going through it. Like, he made no money, right? Yeah. And then what I got to see growing up was like, he'd be up at 5 a.m. every single day. He'd be out the door by 5:30 or 6 o'clock. He'd be home by 6:30, 7 p.m. and he would work on Saturdays for like half the day, you know? And he drove, you know, dude, he drives probably 2015 Ford F-150. They live in a beautiful house, but it's paid off, you know? So like, I got to grow up around money, but not like being irresponsible with money. And I think I was very fortunate to get to see, like, I got to see what making money looked like and how hard it was. Mm-hmm. And that what's most important is being able to like spend time around your family. So like, I plan to instill a lot of the same things. Like, I plan to always be working, even if I don't, like, because people ask a lot, like, why do you work so much even though you don't have to? And I'm like, I feel like it's a responsibility to work. And I think it's like, it makes you feel good to be a productive member of society. Yeah. And so my plan is to show like, when you're serving people and you're working hard, like, money will come, but what's important is making an impact on society, working really hard, having the right values, and teaching like skill sets that make money and teaching the right values, and then like not giving money up for everything. So like one thing that someone told me that they did is they're like, what I taught my kids is, you know, if you want XYZ thing, like you can, if you read this book on entrepreneurship, I'll give you this much money, right? Or if you do this, I'll give you this. Or like if you, you know, do this science, I'll give you this. Or if you get these grades, I'll give you this, right?
Yeah.
Or like you put together a proposal for like whatever it is, but like, you know, teaching people how money is generated and made and not just giving it away is super important. And like the things I've learned the last 7 years, like I could have never learned any of these things like going through an MBA program.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I want to teach those skill sets and the ways to think about money and how money's made, which like the simplest way to think about money is like you make money by providing value to the marketplace or value to the world. Right.
Yep.
And so if you don't provide any value, you don't make any money. And like, that's the message I want to get across to my kids.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want them to like not have anything nice, but I also don't want them to think that, you know, money just grows on trees or falls out of the sky either.
Yeah.
You know,
Understand what comes before that.
Yeah. Understand what goes into it. Understand, you know, like, hey, if we're going to this nice thing, we're going to this family vacation, it's $10,000. Like, hey, do you know how hard it is to make $10,000? If you had to make $10,000, what would you do to make it?
Yeah.
You know, because you can't make $10,000 if you work a $20 an hour job.
Yeah.
You know how long it would take to make $10,000 if you worked at Walmart.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And just having those conversations and get people thinking about money the right way.
Yeah.
And then talking about like my dad, I probably know more medical terms than like almost everyone who's not a doctor. Just 'cause I grew up around like at the dinner table, like my mom's a nurse practitioner, my dad's a doctor, like medical terms. They were always talking about work and stuff at dinner. So I never really had like there was never work-life balance is a concept I've never understood.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up around it.
Yeah.
So it's my dad always called it like work-life harmony.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how do you do them together and be happy?
Right.
And so I think my goal is never not to work. My goal is not to have to work.
Right.
You know?
I like that. So you mentioned like what you've learned over 7 years you couldn't get out of like an MBA program. What was a day that you can recall, if there was one that you wanted to like, you're like, I don't know about like if this is going to be my deal long term. If there was one, maybe there wasn't.
Honestly, I've never thought about quitting necessarily. But I've just, there's been times where I've doubted if I could do what I wanted to do at a high level.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's still days where I think you doubt that.
Yeah.
You know, no matter where you are in business, but I'm really stubborn, dude. So once I decide I'm going to do something, I'm going to figure it out. I just know it may take longer for me than some other people.
Yeah.
But like a lot of bad things happen. And I have a rule that I do with stuff. So if something like really bad happens, like I get into an argument with, or someone says something that really pisses me off, or something really negative happens, or like anything big happens that causes emotion, like nothing good happens when you're emotional.
Yeah.
Like emotion clouds judgment, like a mother.
Yeah.
You know, like it makes you not be able to make good decisions. So my rule is always like, I don't make any decisions while I'm still emotional.
Okay.
So like if I remember a couple of years ago, someone rolled me like $170,000 in debt, right? I was super pissed about it. I was like, this is the craziest thing ever. Like someone basically stole that much money from me. And I talked to someone and I was telling them about it. I was complaining about it. And they're like, how much money did you make last year? I was like just shy of $2 million.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so you made 1.8 and 1.83 instead.
Yeah.
Like, where do you think you'd be when you were 27 years old? I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, so like, but I don't make any permanent decisions when I'm emotional still. And sometimes like I'll start thinking about the thing and I'll get pissed and I'll be like, no, I'll make this decision later.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the most important thing that's one thing I feel like I taught myself is just like, don't do anything when you're mad. There was someone I really like on our team yesterday that we were like, he was arguing, he was mad about something, texting me about it, and it was pissing me off. And I was like, let's talk on the phone. Cause two things, like nothing good happens over text messages ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then nothing good happens when you're emotional. And he kept texting me. I was like, hey man, let's reconvene tomorrow. I'm gonna spend the rest of the night with my family. Like nothing good happens over text message. Let's talk when we're both not emotional.
Yeah.
And like, I hope you enjoy the rest of your night with your family, but like, let's talk tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then talk today. Fine. Great conversation. Right.
Yeah.
But I think like a lot of people want to react and like fight, and they'll make like permanent decisions based on temporary emotions, which is not a good idea. So like what I always do is I just like give myself a minute to think, and it could take a weekend. It could take a week sometimes where I'm not doing anything till my mind is clear to make these decisions.
Yeah.
And that's helped me a lot to not do anything rash based on a temporary emotion.
So I'm similar. Like I haven't been doing it even close to as long as you, but there's never really been a day that it is like I'm going to quit, like, or whatever. But what is that? Because, like, I think that if somebody gives something a long enough time horizon and they're just still not seeing success, some people will quit. Other people will like, how can I need to adapt or adjust because I'm going to make this work. I just need to fix this or tweak this. What do you think the difference between those people are? Like some people, they'll give it a little time and then they just quit, and others just won't be denied. Like, do you think that's an experience thing? You think that's like innate and it's DNA? Because you see it all the time. Like people fall off and you talk to them like, what's been going on? And they're just like, some people just don't have like the passion like that. What do you think that is?
I think part of it is innate. I think part of it is also self-belief. And so like, I read this really good quote. It was like, belief comes before ability. And like the belief I have in myself is not necessarily that I can do everything right now, but I believe that I can figure everything out given enough time. Right. And so like, I think where people get discouraged is they're like, I don't know how to do this right now. And they judge based on where they're at right now. And they're like, I'm not where the people are at. Like I'm quitting. And like the way I look at it is like, I'm not where I need to be right now, but if you give me enough time, I will figure it out. I believe I can figure something out if someone else figures it out.
Yeah.
And like, I just look at life like, dude, if someone else has navigated through this and like has succeeded at way higher levels that I could even comprehend right now, like I can overcome whatever obstacles there are right now. I just need enough time to figure it out. And so I don't know the answer if that's innate or if that's a learned thing, but like I'm very stubborn too. So like once I've decided like I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it, you know? And I get very obsessive with certain things. Like we were talking before we started, like I haven't drank in like 3 years.
Yeah.
I go all in on like really like I spend time with my family. I do stuff with my family. I do stuff with fitness. I do stuff with work, like insurance business and other businesses that I'm into.
Yeah.
And like I enjoy that though, you know what I mean? And I think it's fun to, to build things, build companies, build relationships. And I don't want to say it doesn't feel like work because it definitely does some days. It feels like work, but it's so rewarding when you go through that crap and then feel the reward of it, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
But I think I just made a decision a long time ago. Like, look, I'm not quitting anything I'm doing. I'm going to see it through to the end, whatever the end is.
Yeah. I've got 3 more. One, what's the best thing or how is it working with Sean Mike?
It's great, dude. I think working with Sean's great. It's it's one of those things where you have to understand that sometimes people deliver things a certain way, and you have to look at the message, not necessarily delivery, right?
Yeah.
I was really fortunate. I think you've said the same thing about coaches you've had in the past. Like I was fortunate to grow up having a few coaches that were super rough around the edges.
Yeah.
And what I learned from them was like, they may say something and call you a bunch of names and all this stuff, but like, if you can see through that and not let that bother you, because they're trying to bother you when they're doing that. They're trying to see if they can affect you. They're trying to see if you can handle the pressure. And it was like a dumb little sign. We were at a steak restaurant the other day. There was a sign that said pressure is a privilege on there. But like, I believe that pressure is a privilege. But like, they're trying to see if they can get to you and phase you and bother you. And so I learned is like, don't react to like the delivery of the message or how harsh it is. Like, what is the message? Yeah. In that message they're trying to give you, or in that, that screaming fest. So I learned like, what is he trying to accomplish for me, and does he have my best interest at heart? And I believe that, right? And he's succeeded at such a high level. And like same thing we said when we started is like, dude, no one's perfect, right? Yeah. Like people, and I just take like, hey, what is the good part of this message you're trying to get across, and how can I apply it? Yeah. Not like, am I offended by the way it was delivered? Like, I don't care about that part.
Agreed. And a lot of times too, when they're delivering it that way, it comes off that way or like rough around the edges because there's passion behind it, which usually means they care
Yeah.
a lot. Like if it was more casual and vanilla, it's like they're not as emotionally invested in like wanting to see you or whoever they're, you know, trying to get the most out of, like really win and succeed.
Yeah, and one thing I've learned too is because a lot of people are like, man, you're lucky to have like real good mentors. It's like, dude, mentors don't just like pick people out and drag them up. It's like you have to do things that and provide value like long before people will reach down and mentor you, you know?
Yeah.
So like I've always looked at it like I was texting with one of our agents right before we started this, and he was like, all these people that are on my team reach out to me and I help them anyways. Like, am I wasting my time? I'm like, dude, putting out a lot of good into the world and good karma and helping people you don't have to help does like a couple things. It's like it other people see that and notice it. Like if I'll do anything for that dude because he's always helping people he does not have to help.
Yeah.
And so he'll call me early in the morning, talk for an hour. Like I'll do it because he helps other people on our team that he does not have any responsibility for.
Right.
And I just feel I'm like, he's helping them, I'll help him. Right. Now, if he was a dick to everyone, he called me at 5 a.m, I'd be like, I'll call you back later.
Yeah.
Like, I'm working out right now.
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah.
But it does. So I think to get mentored, you have to provide really good value for people. And it's also good practice too.
Yeah.
Like helping out people you don't have to help. It's really good practice because you get better at training people, talking to agents, helping them sell more, you know, going through the motions of all those things. It's good practice. And you practice on someone else's agents too.
Yeah. 100%. So I guess that goes to, that was going to be one of my other questions. And I got one more. So when we were on a manager's call, like maybe 3 weeks ago, a month ago, and Andrew was like, I asked Andrew something and he was like, well, yeah, you know, like Zach was talking like, and he's like, you were like his protege and he, you know, took you under his wing and helped with this. And we were joking like 2 weeks ago about like, how did we talk first?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I've given Megan credit for that. Like, just give that to her. And I'm like trying to figure out, I'm like, did we talk on Instagram first or did Megan reach out? So we'll give it to Megan. But what was it that like you saw in terms of potential or had a feeling about like with me that you were like, I'm going to put like some time into this dude? Because same thing with like story with like Easton or Calvin, right? Like they took a lot longer from when you first talked to them about that. But for me, it still was like a couple months and I was like, I don't know if I want to sell, you know, I want to have a team, whatever. And you're like, I would definitely sell, man. But like, just whatever you need, just let me know. Like, what was it that you were like, I think like he could do something?
I do it all the time with people, and I'm always just like kind of throwing feelers out and seeing who's like ready and not trying to rush people. Cause there was a point where you didn't want to sell. You just wanted to kind of recruit some people and like not really be 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the business. And I don't really roll that way. Like I really won't work with people that want to do that. Yeah. But like, I thought I liked you when we talked, like you had some success in business before. You had a kid on the way, like you have a great girl, great family dynamic. And I liked you. Like we had good vibe on the phone, but I didn't want to go like, hey dude, like if you're not going to sell, like I'm not going to work with you. Yeah. But that was what I thought. So I was just like, cool. Well, like, hey, when you're ready to take this serious, you know, when you're ready to start killing it, let me know. I'll be here for you. And like, I would just check in once in a while. And I always have tons of just new direct agents out there that I'm just checking in with and seeing where they're at. Yeah. And I would rather people like come to me when they're ready than me try to force my beliefs onto them. Because then like if someone goes like, if I see someone and I'm like, hey, if I'm a trainer, let's say, if I find someone in the gym and I walk up to them and I go, hey man, you should lose 30 pounds. Let me coach you. Yeah. They're going to go like, you dude. Yeah. Like, what are you talking about? Right. But if I'm a trainer at a gym and someone comes up to me and they go like, hey, can you help me lose 30 pounds? Like they're going to be much more receptive and they're going to follow through with what they want to do. Right. Mm-hmm. So I just talk to people a lot that I like and that I feel like I get along with. And I wait for them to be ready and go like, hey, like I'm ready to start killing this thing now. Yeah. What's the next step? And then once I hear that message, then I'm willing to put time, effort, energy into them. But I want them to come to me so that it's their idea and they're ready to hit the ground running and start killing it as opposed to being my idea. Because if it's my idea, eventually that'll phase out. But long term, if it's like, if you're like, no, I really see this business. I understand I need to sell to be able to show the method, to be able to show people what to do, to be able to get this thing rolling. Then I'm like, okay, like now we're on the same page. We're rowing the boat the same direction. Right. So I liked you. I thought you were a good person and we got along well, which are like the two things I look for.
Yeah.
And then from there, I just wait until someone is ready to go this thing full speed ahead. And once they're ready for that, then I dive in and help them and reciprocate the energy.
Okay. Yeah, because I'll have that conversation sometimes. Like people will be like, "Yeah, I just want to sell for like 3 months and then have a team." And I'm like doing the numbers with them. I'm like, "Dude, look at this. Like, even if you had a team of this size and this was the whatever and this is your spread and this is," I'm like, "Dude, if you like selling insurance, especially early on, is like, dude, you make way more money if you can sell insurance, and then building a team and being able to lead by example to." Get others to sell insurance as well is where the magic happens. But selling insurance, I'm like, dude, I wouldn't just cut it after 3 months, man. You can make a lot of money just selling insurance.
Yeah. I think you were bringing that up the other day, but like people miss that part too. It's like, dude, if you just want to have like a really good, flexible job, like there's no better job you could have than selling it. You can work remotely. There's a bunch of different products you can sell.
Crazy.
If you decide you want to work Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, 12 hours a day, like you could make a multiple 6-figure income doing that.
100%.
If you decide you want to work 1 day a week so 4 days a month, once you figure it out, and your goal is to make $6,000 per month, you could do that, right? And I think like people are always like, oh yeah, like you have to have these aspirations to make like, multiple 7 figures. It's like, dude, if you just want to have a really badass, flexible sales job, like once you get good at it, that you can control. I have agents, dude, that have worked with me for 7 years that I talk to probably once a quarter.
Yeah.
That sell a couple policies a week, 3-4 policies a week, 15 a month, and they live an amazing life. They travel a lot. They coach all their kids' teams. Like they live like an amazing life. Like people miss that part of the business as well. It's like you could learn it and then just kind of step back and live a real chill life. And I think we don't recruit to that very much, but like I have a lot of people, like probably like 40 agents or so that do that live like an amazing life, that just sell like part-time, but make a lot of money doing that too. Yeah. So to your point, like people shouldn't overlook if you just want to sell and have a cool sales job.
Yeah. 100%.
It's a great job for that.
And make a ton of money. That's the thing that's even some people that I've talked to that are like agents and stuff that have aspirations. They want to like sell their business, exit, do all that cool stuff too, which is awesome. But I'm like, dude, the cool thing is like, yeah, you can exit on this multiple or whatever, but don't forget about all the money you made leading up to that point. To be able to get to that point, you've got a really strong business. That means you've made a lot of money along the way. Yeah. So, and then last thing,
I was gonna say real quick on the exit thing, unless you were gonna ask about that, but like people ask that, like, what was your goal to exit your business? I was like, dude, it never remotely crossed my mind.
It doesn't work like that.
It never, I mean, maybe it does for some people, like they have that aspiration, but like for me, like I was just working on my business, in my business around, like, dude, I was just in it and was trying to, build up revenue, build up passive income, teach a lot of people how to sell, like make a bunch of really competent leaders so that I didn't have to talk to them 100 times a day. Like, and then eventually my business was super profitable and they approached me and wanted to buy it. And I was like, oh, I don't even think that was an option, I think, but it wasn't in the front of my mind ever. It wasn't a goal it was like, if people set big long-term goals. Yeah. I think the big long-term goals are okay, but like, I think shorter term structured daily goals are way more powerful than like big long-term obnoxious goals that you can't even begin to think how to get to.
Well, I think too, a lot of things that we like acquire or that we like, just things that happen in life they happen laterally, but it happens when like, it's like you became this person, like you're moving like up the mountain, you're becoming like your habits, your mindset, your processes, like all the things you're doing and the person you're becoming to climb this mountain. And then these other things are just byproduct of who you've become and what you've built over time. It's like that wasn't the end game. Like it's like, oh, I just want to buy a Lamborghini. It's like, well, you become this person and you develop these habits. And then those things happen like as you move forward and transcend, like you just were focused on your business, building up other people. And then it just happened. It's just part of the deal as you become who you become and build what you built. Last thing, if you don't have anything else on that, because I don't have a special story about how I named my son Maverick. How did you just come up with Scarlet?
I don't even remember, man. I think we were literally just like scrolling baby names.
Dude, same. Literally, like it was just 2023 boy names, and we were just going.
We were looking at like the most popular ones, and I was like, let's not pick one of the most popular ones.
Yeah.
Like, let's look at one that's not like. We looked at a list of baby names, and then we looked at like the most popular ones. I was like, let's take off all the most popular ones. Because growing up being named Zach, like I had like 6 friends, and you probably same thing. Like Jake,
decent amount. Yeah,
they had like 6 friends named Zach, and so like it was kind of annoying being named Zach. So like, let's find something like unique-ish. But there was nothing special at all.
Okay, same.
I'm glad. Then for the next one, we picked out a few boy names, a few girl names, because we're not finding out until our next kid's born in September what it's gonna be. It's gonna be my wife wanted to have a surprise, and I was like, wow, what a low stakes time to have a fun surprise, right? Just like in the living room. But my mom said something that was interesting because I was telling her about it, and she was like, when you're an adult, you don't get a lot of cool surprises. Like they're usually bad surprises. Yeah. And I was like, all right. Because I didn't really want to do it at first. I was like, I'm a planner. Like, dude, my schedule is planned out for months in advance. Like I'm very structured by my day. I wake up at the same time every day. Like I have a relatively the same routine every day, so I was not a fan of it, but I'm kind of excited now for it. Yeah. So
that's sweet, dude. I'm glad. Yeah, ours wasn't like I was like, oh, that one's. But I knew it when I heard it. Yeah. I was like that. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, just scrolling the old baby names.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that. Yeah, I think a lot of people have meaning and stuff for it. I was just like,
what about middle name? Any meaning to the middle name?
No, it sounded good with the first name.
My Maverick's after my grandpa.
Yeah,
which is cool.
It's Scarlet Ray Twardowski, and like Deb was like, we had to pick a short name because your last name's so freaking long.
Yeah, it's got to flow.
Yeah, so she's like, it could, and Scarlet's kind of longer, so you got to pick long, short, long, and then we looked at like short middle names, and that was what we picked.
Same for the girl is a short middle name it's about flow for the girl, I guess.
It's got to flow, right?
Yeah, that's dope, dude.
But it's one thing I will say about like kids is when it's funny, man. So I just went to a bachelor party for one of my friends, and I saw some people I haven't seen in forever, dude, like 10 years plus. Yeah. And one of my friends was like, remember when he's like, you said to me in college that you were never going to have kids, you were never going to get married, you were going to make a bunch of money, travel the world, and like never settle down. Yeah. And I was like, I remember. And he was like, it's funny because you're the first one that got married, the first ones out of our friend group that had kids, and you're definitely settled down now. Yeah. And I think, I don't know what I thought before, but like having kids is amazing. It gives you a cool perspective on things. And like, I don't know. There's that saying. It's like whatever you believe in, like, say your plans out loud and God laughs at you, right? But it's changed a lot. But I'm glad it's changed that way. It's given me a good perspective, and like, you can't love anyone like you love your kids. No. I don't think. And
it's crazy.
It's helped me in business too, because I would be so like in my business and so stressed all the time. And like now I get home, like hang out with my daughter, put my phone down, chill, unplug for a little bit. Like she laughs. It's amazing. So it's
like a physical cool weight lifted.
Yeah, it is.
Like when you see that, when you're like greeted with that smile, and it's like, damn.
Yeah. So, and I'm excited for you to have a girl because it's a whole different thing. So.
Yeah, I'm excited too, man.
Well, hey, thanks for doing this, dude. This was fun. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.